Hi everybody and welcome back. In today's video we're going to look at making these beautiful crepe paper calla lilies. Alright, so to make these crepe paper calla lilies, what we're going to need is some wire. You're going to need cutouts of the templates and the corresponding cutouts in paper. So two cuts for the leaves, one for the petal, which means you'll need two pieces of wire cut for your leaves and one for your flower. You're also going to need a thin strip of yellow crepe paper or tissue paper, green crepe paper or tissue paper, regular white tissue paper cut into strips, some floral tape, and your choice of crepe paper obviously for the flower. You'll also need a little bit of regular craft glue. You're going to need a pair of snips to cut everything. And now let's have a look at how we can quickly whip one of these up. Things to remember: when you're cutting your petal, in the template you'll notice that you've got to cut with the grain lengthwise. When you're cutting your leaves, however, you've got to have your grain across, and that's indicated on your template. Let's prep the wires now. Once you've cut your leaves for the flower, again, like if you've seen my previous video, you'll see that I usually like to cut the length of wire a little longer than the actual shape or length of the petal so that I can attach it to the stalk. For the flower or the main stalk, I've kind of measured, say, roughly about that far down the petal and kept a fairly long stalk for this one. Keep in mind, this you can adjust to suit whatever project you're using the flower with. We're going to start by covering these with the strips of green crepe paper. Alright. We've got a little glue on the tip of the wire, and holding the paper across the top tip of that wire, we're going to bend that down, hold it at a slant, and twirl it round, keeping that paper at a slant, making sure the wire is completely covered. You also need to make sure that this roll is fairly taut so that it doesn't come loose. Yeah, and right at the end, just keep twirling and it comes off. Yeah. We'll do the same for the second one. For your main stalk, we're going to do things a little differently. This time around, I'm going to use strips of tissue paper. You can continue using all of the strips of paper in yellow crepe. I'm running a little low on my supply of yellow crepe paper, which is why I've just stuck with regular repurposed packaging tissue paper. I find that tissue paper works best because it doesn't leave sharp corners. It's fairly soft and molds to the shape of the stalk. We're going to start by doing the same thing, a dab of glue. What we're trying to do is create a slightly thicker portion, like you'll see in this case. You've got that little stem portion, a lot thicker than the actual thickness of the wire. We're going to achieve that by wrapping this tissue paper a few times around. Yeah, don't worry about the color of the paper being white. None of this is going to show when we're done. So I'm going to take it down about, let's say, a little more than a third of the length. All right. When I reach this spot, I'm going to add a tiny dab of glue just to make sure that that paper sticks to the wire. Turn it around, and I'm going to roll in the opposite direction. Again, angle my paper downwards, and off I go. Take it a little over that tip, turn your wire around, bend that over so that you get a nice neat tip, and continue. You're going to do this a few times till you're satisfied with how thick that is. I've reached the end of my paper. Now I'd like the stalk to be a little thicker, so I'm just going to glue this end down. A little more glue, and I'm going to start with the next strip of paper exactly where I left off. I'm happy with how thick the stalk is right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little strip of yellow crepe paper and actually cover this up in the same way. And a dab of glue to finish that up. Rip that off, you're done with that. You've got your stalk ready. Now we're going to take our leaves and stick the wires right down the center from the top, leaving the excess wire trailing at the bottom. You're going to set these leaves aside to dry, and we're going to work on the flower now. Shaping this flower is very simple. You've got one petal cut out based on the diagram in the template. All we're going to do is, that stalk's going to stay like that in the center, and we're going to roughly wrap that around and form it in a way that this piece of paper actually starts resembling the flower, right? To do that, since we've got the grain going from the top of the petal to the bottom, we're going to, using our fingers on either side of the topmost tip, stretch the paper out. And on the other side as well. Right? You take your stalk, position it as high as you'd like to, and you're going to just hold that there, hold the edges of the paper till you're happy with the look of the flower, the height of the stem, and you're going to use a little dab of glue over here to hold that in place. Yeah. Okay. If you're not happy with that, you can continue sticking a tiny bit further up the top. This will be easier to do without the stalk in the center. Just remember not to seal the bottom. Press it down to help it stick, and you can just insert that stalk in now. Yep, there we go. You're going to pinch this bottom end nice and tight. Now you're going to need your strip of floral tape. I've got my floral tape cut in half across the width to give me a thinner tape. I'm going to unroll that now a little. Now holding the floral tape in an upward direction, I'm going to secure the flower at the base, just where I want it, making sure it's nice and tight against that stalk, and it's not going to come loose. Then angling your tape a little lower, you're going to make sure you get a nice, clean, tight finish, and roll it all the way down the bottom. There you have it. Now you just mold that paper till you're happy with the shape of the flower. think I'm kind of happy with that. I'm going to attach the leaves now. For the leaves, you're going to add a little interest to an otherwise very plain looking piece of green paper. Holding your leaf sideways, you're going to create a ruffled edge on your crepe paper. All you're doing is stretching the paper between your fingers a little. So you've got your right hand on one side, your left hand on the other. You're just going to pull. You don't want to tear your paper, but you just want to stretch it a tiny bit, which is why we cut across the green, right? You do that and you get a nice little curly edged petal, just like that. Same thing on the other side. And the other leaf. There you go. We're now just going to attach the leaves to the stalk. Any way you like it really. Add a little bend to the wire. Using floral tape, we're going to attach it. So just like we did before, angle it upwards because you're starting a little lower than you intend to. Take that all the way to the base of the leaf, and then angling your tape downwards, you're going to secure that together, and we're going to attach the second one. There you have it. I think these flowers would make a beautiful addition to the top of a nicely wrapped box or a present because it's flat, it lays flat. So you could use it instead of a bow or on top of a bow, just with a flower maybe. You could add the leaves if you want to, but they look really nice and pretty all together. I've made them in a few colors. There you have it. A nice little bouquet of crepe paper, Calla Lillies, in colors of your choice. So I do hope you give these flowers a try. They're fairly simple. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click like and don't forget to subscribe for upcoming video tutorials on flowers and other crafts. Bye bye now.